Technology with Mathew Dickerson on Tech Talk. Here on TCFM 88.9.
Morning, Matthew. How are you?
You know that I'm smiling, don't you? It puts a smile on my face, even when I'm not in the studio, Richard.
Yes, indeed. It's a pity we can't get together, but anyway, that's life. Mate, before we get on to Tech Talk, Dave, my good friend David from High Tech Frames and Trusses, sent me a message a couple of weeks ago, and I got lost on a bit of paper, and it's to do with Tech Talk. Will I ask Matthew if the new Windows 11 will be able to play DVDs or Blu-ray? Windows 10 wasn't unable to play DVDs, and it required a program to be downloaded and installed. Will that be the same for Windows 11? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I would say that will be exactly the same scenario in Windows 11, but I don't like to give answers without actually knowing the full facts, so I'll research that for you, Richard, and I'll check, and next week I'll give you a definitive answer. My gut feel would be it'll be the same as Windows 10, but let's make sure of that.
All right, mate. I figured you'd say that. But anyway, so Dave, hang for your answer a bit longer, mate.
He's only got to wait another week.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll get another week. We'll get it right. It's only been on my desk for 2 weeks anyway. For apologies for that. Now, do you have trouble making it to an optometrist during lockdown? Well, I've got a story later about a bloke with a watch. But anyway, I suppose you'd have trouble making it to an optometrist during lockdown, would you? What's the solution?
Well, it's interesting, actually. Around the whole area, Richard, there are some optometrists that go visiting various towns, the Burkes, the Brewarrenas of the area, and obviously sometimes they might be restricted, in particular if some of those optometrists come from Sydney, or other people may not feel comfortable going into an optometrist, maybe in Sydney, for example, when there's some hard lockdowns in place. So one company, and unfortunately they're only based in the US and Canada at this stage, but I'm sure this technology will filter down. One company is allowing you to do your eye test yourself using your mobile phone. Now, the first thing that I thought of was, well, surely that can't be very accurate. You can hold the phone close to your face. You could put the phone 3 metres away. How can that be accurate? But what it actually does is it uses the front camera on your phone to work out exactly how far away your face is from the phone, and then it puts the letters on the phone at the appropriate size for the distance that you are away from the phone. Very clever in what it does there. Now, you've still got to do or answer some standard questions about, are you having headaches? Are there other problems that you're getting with your eyes? All those sort of standard things. But then the actual eye test will work out the strength of glasses that you might need based on this testing that it does holding the phone away from your face. I'm not suggesting for a minute here that we should go and replace all the optometrists and just use this. It really is a solution that's been designed specifically for lockdown scenarios. There's some optometrists...
Yeah, Sorry. You can read the bottom line for the first time in your life.
Well, and that's it. I think normally you'd think that it'd be pretty how you're going in terms of a test, but it is a very accurate test to the point where this company will then ship out glasses to you based on those tests. And if they don't work, they say ship them back and we'll send you another pair. So they've got enough confidence in it that you can do it based on that. So very clever technology. Sorry to all the optometrists out there, not trying to do you out of a job, but again, it is specifically around this sort of lockdown scenario that we've got.
Yeah, we've got optometrists quaking in their boots now.
That's
but anyway.
Right. Sorry.
Yes, yeah. Well done, Matthew. Now, why is it, I cannot believe this story, why is there a shortage of sand in the world? The Sahara Desert, good grief.
It is incredible. Yeah.
Explain why there's a shortage of sand.
Well, there's a shortage of sand because construction across the world is absolutely booming. Places like India and China in particular are using incredible amounts of concrete. And obviously sand is a major part of concrete when you're doing those sort of buildings. So basically you think, sure, we've got all this beach sand, we've got all this sand, as you say, you've got deserts out there, but it's got to be the right type of sand to be able to be used in construction. So it can't be too small, it can't be too smooth. Actual salt water is really infiltrated across all that sort of beach sand. So you go and use beach sand in a building construction, suddenly all the reinforcement bar that you've got in the actual building starts to rust because of all that salt in there. Rivers.
Florida.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right.
You get a Florida collapse.
So when you've got the sort of sand you want basically sand from riverbeds. But of course that leads to other problems, and there are some countries across the world at the moment who have banned taking sand from the riverbeds because it's doing so much damage. So essentially you've got to come up with something different. Now the solution that scientists have come up with is plastic. not to replace sand completely in those building jobs, but to replace part of the sand that you might be using. So they're taking plastic, they're crushing it up into very small components, then mixing it in with the normal sand and concrete that you'd use, and suddenly you're saving tons of sand that might be used across the world. It does seem incredible, I agree, that surely would have enough sand, but it actually got to the point that it was so bad that there were criminal gangs known as sand mafias in India where they were basically taking control of the sand supply, would you believe? It actually led to a killing of an investigative journalist. So it was pretty serious sort of stuff. So that's where we're at with sand. So using plastic waste, in terms of sand, again, replacing part of it, we could replace, for example, 15,000 tonnes of plastic waste that's dumped every day in India. So imagine taking some of that and using it for something useful rather than just dumping it.
I agree. I think it's a very good idea. I'm pleased to see it's plastic. I don't know about the wobbly foundations, though. However...
Well, they've done the testing and the strength. Again, they're not replacing all the sand, only replacing 10% of it. So you've got enough sand in there to keep that strength with the concrete.
Yeah, well, you can get plastic railway sleepers now, so that gives you an idea of how strong they are, indeed. Another thought came to mind, but it's now left my mind, but then again, that's me. Pegasus spy software. Now, this is important. It's huge, isn't it, what's going on at the moment?
It is.
And China have been called out by 30 countries now, including us, about what they've been doing with the internet. It's incredible.
Yeah, and Pegasus software is kind of a legitimate software company. They've basically been selling their software, their spy software, to various countries around the world, to the governments, and they've been using it for anti-terrorism. So it kind of seems vaguely legitimate. The accusation at the moment, though, is that Pegasus, being a company that wants to sell a product, has been quite happy to sell that product to anyone that comes along and wants to pay for it. And so some organisations around the world that have been trying to find out information about politicians, about journalists, even about activists, they've been selling software to these different people that have been installing it on phones for those journos and politicians, for example. So next thing you know, politicians are sending some messages about something that might be going through cabinet, about some decisions that might be made. Let's say, for example, there was a major tender that was being discussed by various politicians for some sort of submarine contract or whatever it might be. We're talking about some major dollars, and next thing you know, organisations out there are getting access to this information straight off the phones of politicians. Now, we don't know yet exactly who is being targeted or the individuals that are being targeted. We just know that journalists and politicians in general have been found to have this spy software on their phones. It's very easy to get it installed. Most people think you've got to do something on your phone to get some sort of spyware on there. You've got to click on a button. You've got to fall for some sort of phishing campaign. But this software is so good, it can be installed with what they call a zero-click installation. So you don't have to click on something. You can actually just receive an incoming message. You can receive an incoming call via various apps that are available, and that can be enough to infect your phone with this sort of malware or spyware. Pretty scary stuff.
It is, and I'm just wondering how you get rid of it then. You can't.
Well, the first thing is actually being aware that you've got it. And that's an interesting part, just trying to find out how you've got it and then trying to get rid of it for a second stage of there. But most people that have this on their phones wouldn't even know it's on there. Very clever software, and I hate to use that word sometimes with people using software for bad things, but very clever software, making it almost invisible to you working away with your phone.
Yeah, Matthew, incredible stuff, and it gets bigger. Now, very quickly and finally, Samsung's colossal 1,000-inch TV for your lounge room.
It's not a typo, Richard. It wasn't 100-inch that I've made a mistake on there. 1,000-inch. This is what
I read it. I read it twice before. I thought, what's Matthew on about with this one? 1,000-inch. I measured 1,000 inches out diagonally, and I thought, in your lounge room, that is more than the wall.
You'd want to basically increase the size of your lounge room just to fit this TV in. And it is bigger than your wall, and it's actually called the wall. And obviously it's not really designed for a lounge room. It's designed for retail environments, for shopping centres, that type of thing. And there's a few challenges they've got there. For a start, it needs to be very bright. Now, an average sort of OLED TV might be 1,000 nits. This is actually 1,600 nits in brightness. So that's fantastic. And again, with a shopping centre, with all that natural light that might come in, you need it to be very bright for a start. It's also very high resolution, 8K resolution. And I've been in shopping centres where you see those big displays, the big screens, and you get up close to it and each pixel looks like it's about the size of your hand. But this is 8K resolution. So the pixels are actually, even though it's very big, the pixels are actually quite small. So you don't have to be very far back from it and it still looks like a very sharp image. So very impressive from that perspective. One thing I did try and find out, because I knew you'd be interested, because I know you're thinking about one of these for your lounge room, I knew you'd be interested in the price. So I had a bit of a sniff around to see what price I would have to pay for one of these, and I could not find a price anywhere, Richard. I looked everywhere. In the end, I've actually filled in a form on the Samsung website, an inquiry form, to say that I'm interested in the wall. Please quote me a price, and I still haven't got the answer back from Samsung about that. But I imagine, and I'm taking a bit of a guess here, but when I see TVs that are 100-inch, 110, even 120-inch for $30,000 to $50,000, I wouldn't be surprised if this TV was maybe $500,000. So I'll let you know once I find out a price, but it's actually, it's going to be a big price when it's hard to find out the price.
I was thinking 10 times the size of the 100-inch, so that goes to about $250,000 to $300,000. $300,000 to $400,000. But anyway,
it might be as cheap as that. It's hard to say, but again,
can you imagine the heat that would put off?
Well, it's micro LED, and micro LED shouldn't be too bad in the amount of heat it generates, and it is over a fairly large surface area. But again, in your lounge room, you probably wouldn't need to turn the heater on if you had that set up in your lounge room.
But the air conditioner to cool it down.
Once I get a price on it and you install one in your lounge room, I promise I'll come around and watch some movies at your place, Richard.
So you can come around and watch a movie anyway, but it won't be on a screen that size, that's for sure. Always good talking with you, Matthew. We'll catch up again next week. Unfortunately, we'll be on the phone again, I imagine, because we won't be allowed to film like we normally do. Yep. And we'll catch up with you next week on the phone anyway. It's been Tech Talk with Mathew Dickerson. This is DCFM 88.9. This is John English, and he's turning the page.